Who are you?" "I'm here for my son. And this time, I didn't come alone." Dear God, the red clearance badge. It's real, no way. The kid was telling the truth. These are the records. About you. And everything you've done to my son. You messed with the wrong man. And the wrong family. Northville was a quiet town. Clean lawns, trimmed hedges, and people looked at you like you didn't belong. His name was Malik Brown. 16 years old. He'd lived here since he was 6. But every step still felt like asking permission just to exist. Nobody said anything. But their eyes. They didn't need words. Malik had learned to look straight ahead and pretend not to notice. His dad, Nathaniel Brown. No pictures of him in the house. No records online. No one in the neighborhood had ever seen him. People guessed. Some said he was in prison. Others thought he'd just run off. But Malik knew the truth. His dad didn't leave. He just worked in the shadows. Before we dive into this story, let us know where you're watching from. And don't forget to subscribe because tomorrow's story is one you don't want to miss. In Northville, if you're black and walking alone, you're not just a teenager, you're a question mark. Malik Brown was 16. He knew every crack in the sidewalk, every hedge trimmed too perfect, every glance that lasted too long. He wasn't new here. Lived on Sycamore Lane since he was 6. But still, they looked at him like he didn't belong. Hoodie up, headphones in, not for music, but for protection. A bubble, just thick enough to keep the world out, just thin enough to let the doubt slip in. Mrs. Ellison pulled her curtain back. Same time, same look. He didn't turn, didn't flinch, just walked. Keep your eyes ahead, son. Dignity doesn't need to explain itself. His dad's words, etched into every step. He passed the corner store. Mr. Howard stood inside, watching him like he always did. Like the 100 honest visits didn't matter. No nod, no smile, just silence. Because when you're black in a white neighborhood, sometimes just getting home is resistance. Malik knew the rules. Move steady, talk soft, never give them a reason. And he thought today would be the same. Just another quiet walk home. Just another day of being seen, but not seen. But that Tuesday, something shifted. A low engine, a slow roll behind him. The air felt tighter, and the silence. It cracked. The sound came first. A slow crawl. Tires against pavement, matching his steps. Malik didn't have to look, he already knew. Police cruiser, window rolling down. His stomach tightened, his breath slowed. He pulled out his headphones and waited. "Hey you," the voice was sharp, authoritative, too loud for the empty street. He turned, hands visible, just like he was taught. Just like his dad warned. Yes, Sir Polite, steady, even though his throat burned. The officer stepped out. Tall, tense, the kind of posture that screams control. "What are you doing in this neighborhood?" "I live here," Malik replied, voice calm, truth simple. "ID. I'm 16. I don't have a license, just my school card. It's in my bag." "Keep your hands where I can see them." Malik froze, hands up, palms out. A statue of obedience. The officer circled around, eyed the bag. Empty it. Books, basketball shoes, a water bottle. Nothing else, no threat, no reason. But still, the officer stared like Malik had failed a test he never signed up for. "Where do you live exactly? 3 blocks that way. 432 Maple. Your parents' home. My mom is. Dad's away for work." The officer smirked. Let me guess, missing Dad, gone like the rest. Malik's heart hammered, but his face stayed still. No anger, no shame. He said quietly, "He's in Special Forces." And that's when the laughter started. Special Forces. The officer laughed louder, harsh, mocking, echoing down the quiet street. "Your daddy's Joe." Now he turned, waving to a second patrol car that had just pulled up. "Hey, Miller. This kid says his dad's some kind of secret agent." The other cop chuckled. Uncomfortable, but he didn't stop it. Malik stood still. The wind brushed past him. He didn't blink, didn't flinch. Inside, his chest burned. But outside, he was stone. The officer leaned closer, grin wide, tone cruel. "Listen, soldier boy," he said, "next time you want to impress someone, try something believable. I was in the military. I know what real soldiers look like. And your kind, they don't last long." Malik's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. His father's voice echoed in his mind. "Don't give them the reaction they want. Your silence is your shield." The officer finally stepped back, dismissive, bored. "Pack up your stuff and stay out of trouble." Malik knelt slowly, gathering his things, hands deliberate, movements careful. Behind him, the officers joked, their laughter fading only when he put his headphones back on and walked away. No music played, just silence. Heavy, humming in his ears like pressure underwater. He didn't look back, didn't run. He walked one foot after the other. He knew what had just happened. He knew the message. He wasn't welcome. And still, he kept walking. Because some battles you don't fight with fists. You fight with every step you take without breaking. Malik made it home. Dropped his bag by the door. Stood there for a moment, just breathing. The smell of lemon polish. His mom's jasmine candle. Everything exactly where it always was. But he wasn't. He walked into the kitchen, grabbed an apple, and bit down. The crisp sound filled the quiet. He could still hear the laughter, still feel it. His mom came home an hour later. Business clothes, tired eyes, but posture still sharp, like she was always ready. "Hey, baby, how was school?" "Fine." She looked at him, paused. Didn't believe it. Not yet, but she would. Something happened. It wasn't a question. He nodded slowly. "A cop stopped me, said I looked suspicious, made me empty my bag." Her eyes darkened. She set down her purse. "Did he touch you?" "No." "Threaten you?" "Just words." She waited. Malik looked down. "I told him about Dad." Silence, heavy. "You what?" "He was saying I didn't have a father, that he ran off. I couldn't just stand there and let him." "You told him about Special Forces." He nodded. Her shoulders dropped, not from relief, from something else. "Malik, we've talked about this." "I know, Mom, I'm sorry." She hugged him, tight, longer than usual. "It's not just about privacy. It's about safety, ours, and your father's." He didn't answer, because part of him wondered, if the truth is so dangerous, why does it feel so right to say it? The next morning, Malik walked into school like he always did, hoodie on, eyes forward. But something was different. Whispers followed him down the hall, quick glances, side conversations. At his locker, a voice cut through the noise. "Malik." He turned. It was Maya Carter, honor student, flute section leader, always in the background, but always watching. She looked nervous. "We need to talk." They stepped into the hallway behind the band room. Quiet, empty. "I saw what happened yesterday," she said. "With that cop, I was across the street." Malik's face didn't change. He waited. "I recorded it, all of it." That made him blink. "Why?" Maya shrugged. "My dad's a civil rights lawyer. He always says if you see injustice, document it." She looked up at him, eyes searching. "Was it true? What you said about your dad?" Malik paused. He could lie, could laugh it off. But he didn't. "Yeah, it's true." Maya nodded slowly. Didn't ask for proof, didn't press. "Okay, just wanted to know." The bell rang. They went separate ways. But for the first time in days, Malik felt something shift. Someone believed him, and someone had proof. He wasn't crazy, wasn't alone. And maybe, just maybe, this story wasn't over yet. By lunch, the whispers had grown teeth. Malik sat alone. Same table, same sandwich. Then came the voice, loud, mocking. "Hey, Special Forces." It was Bryce, quarterback, class clown, privileged and proud. He strutted over, friends in tow, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Heard your dad's some top-secret killer, huh? Bet he's not even real." Malik said nothing, kept eating. Bryce leaned in. "Or maybe your dad just dipped, same as all the rest." A few kids laughed, not many, but enough. Malik looked up, eyes steady, voice low. "Your dad talk about my family at dinner. Sounds like he's obsessed." The table went quiet. Bryce's smirk faded, just a flicker. Then he turned away, muttering something Malik didn't catch. A moment later, a familiar face appeared. Maya. She slid into the seat across from him, like they did this every day. "Ignore them," she said. "Bryce's dad is the same guy who got caught posting racist garbage online last year." Malik's lips twitched, almost a smile. "You know everything, don't you?" "My mom works at the courthouse," she shrugged. "I hear things." They ate in silence for a moment. Comfortable, grounded. "So, Special Forces?" she asked quietly. Malik stared at his tray. "I don't want to talk about it." Maya nodded, okay. And that was it. No pressure, no jokes. Just two kids trying to stay upright in a world that didn't want them steady. That evening, Malik stopped by the corner store after practice. Just a Gatorade, same routine. But inside, he wasn't alone. Officer Sloan stood by the counter, off duty, buying cigarettes. Their eyes met in the reflection of the cooler door. Sloan turned slowly, that smirk again. Well, if it isn't Joe's kid." Malik said nothing, just walked to the counter, placed his drink down, reached for his wallet. Sloan stepped closer. Too close. "You know what's funny? I looked into your dad. Interesting stuff." Malik kept his face calm, but his pulse jumped. He paid, turned to leave. Sloan's voice followed. "I'm not done talking." But Malik didn't stop, didn't turn around. "I'm done listening," he said quietly. That made Sloan pause. It was the look, those eyes. Calm, still, unbothered. The same look from the photo, the one Sloan found in the shed. "You think you're tough just 'cause Daddy taught you some tricks. Let me tell you something." He leaned in, voice like venom. "Men like your father, they're not heroes, they're killers." Malik didn't move. "Are we done here?" "Sir, I need to get home." Sloan scowled. But the store owner was watching now. So he backed off, slow, boiling. Malik walked out, holding it in. His dad once said, "Control what you can, and what you can always control is your reaction." The next day, the court was packed. After school, Malik and a few friends were running drills, laughing, just being teenagers. Until the sirens. 2 cruisers pulled up, lights flashing, doors slammed. And there he was again, Officer Sloan. He strode onto the court, hand already on his cuffs. "Malik Brown, you need to come with us." Everything froze. Basketballs stopped bouncing. Voices dropped to whispers. "What for?" Malik asked, ball still in his hands. "There was a disturbance reported. Witnesses said you were involved." "I've been here the past hour." Sloan kept walking. "Turn around, hands behind your back." His friends protested. "He didn't do anything, we've been here the whole time." But Sloan wasn't listening. Not to them, not to reason. Malik nodded slowly, put the ball down, turned around. The cuffs clicked shut. Cold, final. He didn't resist, didn't raise his voice. Across the street, Maya stood behind a tree, phone raised, recording. This time, she was live. Her father was already dialing the department before the cruiser even left the lot. Inside the back seat, Malik sat still. Quiet. A storm beneath the surface, but on the outside, he was calm. Because this wasn't just about him anymore. Now the whole town was watching. And Sloan, he had no idea just how big a mistake he'd just made. At the station, they put him in a side room. Not booked, not charged, just held. Long enough to scare him. Long enough to prove a point. But Malik didn't give them the reaction they wanted. He sat still, hands folded, breathing steady. A door slammed open. Angela Brown, his mother, business blazer, hospital badge still clipped to her waist. "I want to see my son, now." The desk officer hesitated. "Ma'am, he's being harassed by the same cop I filed a complaint against last week." Her voice didn't shake, didn't rise. It cut. "I want him released immediately, or my next call is to my attorney, and then to every reporter in the state." No one stopped her, no one dared. Inside the room, Malik looked up. His mother entered, no words, just a nod. He stood, shoulders straight, cuffs removed, and together they walked out. No shouting, no drama, just dignity. And behind them, a silence that felt heavier than steel. That night, Sloan couldn't sleep. He sat at his desk, files open, coffee cold. He wasn't thinking about policy, or ethics, or the kid. He was thinking about the father. Nathaniel Brown. Who was he really? He'd tried searching again. Government databases, military records. Everything came back blocked, classified, redacted. And that only made Sloan more obsessed. He drove back to Sycamore Lane, parked 3 houses down, lights off, engine quiet. The house looked normal, too normal. At midnight, he got out, walked around the block, slipped through the backyard. No warrant, no reason, just curiosity wrapped in ego. He found the shed, tried the door, locked. He picked it, easy. Inside, nothing but garden tools and a metal box. He opened it. Foreign currency, strange notebooks, a photo. A younger Nathaniel, desert fatigues, eyes cold, focused. The kind of eyes that didn't forget a face. Sloan stared at the photo, then took pictures, every angle. And when he left, He didn't know he just crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. Because from that moment on, Nathaniel Brown was watching him back. Nathaniel knew. Before the sun rose, before Angela said a word, he already knew. He sat at the kitchen table, a mug of black coffee untouched, phone in hand, screens open, encrypted. The alert had come in hours ago. Unauthorized entry. Coordinates Sycamore Lane. He didn't flinch, didn't panic. He analyzed. Lock was too easy. Box was left accessible on purpose. It wasn't carelessness, it was bait. Angela entered, eyes tired, voice low. He broke into the shed. Nathaniel nodded. I know. He found the photo. I wanted him to. Angela frowned. You set a trap. I needed to know who he really was. And now, Nathaniel looked up, calm, dead serious. Now I do. He's not smart, he's not brave, he's desperate. Angela sat down across from him. He won't stop. No, Nathaniel said, but neither will I. He opened a drawer, pulled out a thin white folder. Marked, sealed, coded. One word on the front protocol. Because this wasn't just a family matter anymore. It was operational. And from here on out, the war wouldn't be loud. It would be silent, precise, unforgiving. Sloan didn't know he was being watched. Across the street, 3 houses down. A dark window blinked to life. Inside, someone was watching. Thermal optics, secure comms, eyes trained on every movement. Target moving, no backup, solo surveillance. A voice answered through static, monitor only, no engagement. Sloan crept along the fence line, thinking he was invisible. He wasn't. He thought he was hunting. He wasn't. He was bait, marked, logged. By sunrise, his car was tagged, phone tracked, digital footprint flagged. The system that protected Nathaniel Brown had activated. Not police, not lawyers. Something deeper, older, quieter. At breakfast, Malik didn't notice the shift. His dad poured coffee, asked about homework, same as always. But behind those calm eyes, a different storm had started. One Malik couldn't see, not yet. And Sloan, he drove away that morning believing he still held the power. Believing he could expose a lie and tear down a man. But what he didn't realize was that he hadn't just trespassed on private property. He'd stepped into classified territory. And in that world, mistakes aren't corrected. They're erased. The station was quiet. Phones rang, keyboards clacked, just another Tuesday. Until the door opened, and everything stopped. He wasn't tall, wasn't loud, just present. Jeans, boots, a plain gray t-shirt. But the way he moved, like he belonged in enemy territory and knew exactly where every threat was. Officers glanced up, then looked twice. Angela stood by the front desk, relieved, ready. Their eyes met. She nodded once. He stepped forward. I'm here for my son, Malik Brown. The desk sergeant blinked. Yes, sir, just a moment. Here's my identification. He pulled a card from his wallet. Military issue? Red border? The kind that doesn't get questioned. The kind that changes tones. Another officer backed away from the door. Whispered. Clearance red. Inside the holding area. Sloan was mid-sentence. Kid's lying. His father's not who he says. The door opened. Nathaniel entered. And Sloan shut up. Not because of the badge, not because of the uniform, but because of the eyes. Steady, quiet, deadly calm. And in that moment, Sloan knew. He'd been looking for a threat. And now, the threat was looking back. No raised voice, no anger, just silence. Nathaniel stepped into the room, laid a sealed folder on the table, and slid it toward the chief. "This is everything," he said. "Surveillance footage, location tracking, and a full report on Officer Sloan's misconduct, including his unauthorized break-in." The chief opened the folder. "Read." His hands began to shake. "This is classified material." Nathaniel didn't blink. "I'm aware, but so was the shed he trespassed into." Sloan sat frozen, jaw clenched, sweat rising. Nathaniel turned to him, calm. "You wanted to know who I was." A pause. "Now you do. And this is me being polite." The room was quiet. The kind of quiet that fills lungs with fear. The chief stood. "We'll handle this." Nathaniel nodded once, then walked out, Angela waiting. No celebration, no revenge. Just resolve. Behind him, Sloan collapsed into his chair, eyes wide, hands shaking. He hadn't been silenced. He'd been measured. And when the full weight of that truth hit him, he finally understood. You don't fight men like Nathaniel Brown with noise. You don't intimidate them. Because silence, that's when they're most dangerous. The hallway felt colder on the way out. Officers stepped aside, not out of fear, out of recognition. Angela walked beside him, shoulders tall, eyes locked forward. They didn't speak, they didn't need to. Outside, the morning light had shifted, brighter, sharper. Malik stood by the car, his backpack in hand, still watching. Nathaniel nodded once, "Let's go." Malik opened the door, got in, but before the engine started, he asked softly, "Did you do something to him?" Nathaniel looked straight ahead. "I didn't have to." Malik waited. He did it to himself. They drove off. No words, no music. Just the quiet hum of consequences catching up with arrogance. Back at the station, Sloan was pulled from duty. Desk assignment, pending investigation. No badge, no gun, just paperwork. And the memory of a man he could neither threaten nor understand. Nathaniel Brown had left no bruises, no scars. But he left a presence. One that filled every room he walked through and stayed long after he was gone. Because power doesn't always speak loudly. Sometimes it just walks in, sets down the truth, and walks away. The footage went viral overnight. Maya's live stream, the cuffs, the silence, the walk of shame, shared across every platform. Hashtag Justice for Malik trended by sunrise. Local news picked it up, then national outlets. The headline read, "Black teen detained without cause. Father's secret identity exposes corrupt cop." At school, Malik walked through the halls as eyes widened. Some nodded, some looked away. But no one laughed. Not anymore. Bryce kept his distance. Even the teachers chose their words more carefully. At the station, Sloan's desk sat empty, indefinitely. An internal review had begun. Old complaints resurfaced, names, dates, patterns. He was no longer the predator. He was the headline. The department held a press conference. They called it an unfortunate incident. They promised reform. But the community wasn't asking anymore. They were demanding. Protests formed, quiet at first, then louder. Not just about Malik, but about every black kid who'd walked home and felt hunted. Sloan stayed home, blinds closed, phone off. The man who once wore the badge like a shield, now hid behind his walls like a ghost, Because once the truth is out, power shifts. And the fall, it's always faster than the climb. Malik sat on the porch. Hoodie up, knees pulled in, backpack beside him. The street was quiet, but not the same kind of quiet as before. This time, it wasn't cold, it wasn't heavy. It was still. From across the street, Mrs. Ellison nodded once, didn't pull her curtain back. Just nodded. A soft gesture, but enough. His mom came out with tea, didn't say a word, just handed him the cup, warm, steady. Malik watched the wind move through the trees, watched kids ride past on bikes, too young to know what had happened, too free to care. He didn't feel like a hero, didn't feel like a victim either. Just tired. But inside that tired was something else. A weight that had lifted. A breath that came easier. The world had shifted, even just a little. And he had stayed standing. He hadn't shouted, hadn't fought. He had endured. And somehow that felt louder than anything. Because sometimes silent power doesn't come from striking back. It comes from standing your ground and letting the truth speak for itself. The next school assembly felt different. No pep rally, no announcements. Just a microphone and a full gym of silent students. The principal stepped up, cleared her throat. We've seen a lot in the past week, and some of us have seen things we've ignored for too long. She looked toward Malik, didn't say his name. She didn't have to. We talk about integrity here, about courage. Sometimes that means speaking up. A pause. And sometimes it means standing tall when everything around you tries to push you down. Students listened, really listened. Maya glanced at Malik. He gave a small nod. Nothing more, nothing less. Afterward, a few students came up, a handshake, a quiet thank you. No camera flashes, no spotlight, just respect. Real, unspoken. Later that day, Malik found a note in his locker. Folded, no name. It read, "You showed us what strong really looks like." He tucked it into his notebook, didn't smile, didn't cry. Just closed his locker and walked to class. Because sometimes, a fall doesn't end in breaking. Sometimes, it clears the way for something better to rise. Malik never asked to be a symbol. He just wanted to get home, finish homework, shoot hoops on the weekend. But life doesn't always wait for you to be ready. Sometimes it hands you a moment that tests who you are, quietly. And in that silence, Malik found something solid. He didn't yell, didn't post, didn't fight fire with fire. He just kept moving, kept breathing, kept being. And somehow, that was enough to shake the system. His dad once told him, the loudest power doesn't always roar. Sometimes it waits, then moves with precision. That lesson stuck, not just for Malik, but for the people around him. His classmates, his teachers, even the ones who never spoke his name started seeing him differently. Not just as a black kid in a hoodie, but as someone who didn't fold under pressure, who didn't let the weight of someone else's fear become his own. That was a lesson. Power doesn't always need a stage. Sometimes it walks through the fire quiet, focused, and unshaken. They sat on the back porch, just the two of them. The sun had dropped behind the trees. Warm air. Long shadows. Nathaniel didn't say much. He never did. Malik stared out across the yard. Fingers tracing the rim of a cold glass. "I didn't do anything special," he said, "just kept going." Nathaniel nodded. That's exactly why it was special. Malik looked down. "I wanted to scream, to fight back, to say everything I couldn't. Nathaniel leaned forward. Sometimes silence isn't weakness. It's control. But what if they think I'm soft? They don't, he said, not anymore. They sat there for a moment. No words, just the hum of a night settling in. You're not just my son, Nathaniel said. You're my proof that dignity still means something, even when the world tries to erase it. Malik didn't answer, didn't need to. His chest was full, not with pride, not with pain, with something stronger, understanding. Because strength isn't just built in the gym, or born in war. Sometimes it grows in quiet moments, after the storm, when you realize you didn't bend, and you never had to. The next morning, Malik walked to school. Same hoodie, same backpack, same sidewalk, but it didn't feel the same. The stairs weren't sharp anymore. They were thoughtful, curious, maybe even respectful. Someone held the door for him. Someone else nodded in the hallway. Small things, quiet things, but they mattered. In homeroom, his teacher paused at roll call. "Malik," she said, her voice softer, more careful. "I'm glad you're here." He didn't know what to say, so he just nodded. At lunch, Maya slid into the seat across from him again. "You good?" she asked. Malik took a breath. "I think so." She smiled. "Cool. Because people are watching now, and not for the wrong reasons." He looked around. Kids still laughed, still gossiped, still scrolled through their phones. But every now and then, someone looked his way and didn't look through him. That was new, and it was enough. Because Malik didn't need applause, didn't want pity. All he ever wanted was to be seen, and to be left in peace. And now, for the first time in a long time, it felt like maybe he was... The wind was cooler that afternoon. Leaves scattered across the sidewalk, golden, restless. Malik zipped up his hoodie, pulled the strings tighter, not to hide, but to breathe. He walked home the long way, past the store, past the park, past the spot where Sloan first stopped him. It looked the same, but he didn't feel the same. He moved differently now, shoulders back, eyes steady, steps firm. Not loud, not angry, just sure. Mrs. Ellison waved from her garden. He nodded back, no words, no need. Outside the market, Mr. Howard opened the door. "Need anything, Malik?" Malik shook his head. Just passing through. And he was, but not like before. He wasn't the ghost anymore. Not the question mark. Not the shadow slipping by. He was present. Not because people gave him space, but because he took it. Rightfully, quietly. With every step, he wrote something into the concrete. "I'm here. I belong, and I'm not going anywhere." Some stories end with applause, others with a fight. Malik's ended with a walk. No fireworks, no headlines, just a black boy in a hoodie walking home. But if you looked closely, you'd see it. The weight he carried wasn't fear anymore. It was history, pride, and the quiet power of knowing who you are. He didn't need to prove anything. Not to Sloan, not to the town, not even to his father. Because he already had. He'd walked through fire without burning. He'd stood still while the world tried to push him down. And now, he was still standing, still walking. Each step said something louder than words. You don't have to shout to be heard. You don't have to fight to be strong. You don't have to win the war to change the battlefield. Sometimes, all it takes is not backing down. That's what Malik taught them. That's what his silence showed. Not fear, but power. Not rage, but purpose. Not defeat, but presence. And as he turned the corner, hood up, heart steady, the world didn't move for him. But this time, it didn't move against him either. The sun dipped low as Malik reached the end of the block. He paused, looked up at the sky, a soft blend of orange and blue, the kind of sky that makes you believe in better days. No music played, no one followed. Just the sound of his own footsteps fading into evening. A quiet walk, but not an ordinary one, because behind him, he left more than footprints. He left a lesson. That courage doesn't always look like fists, that justice doesn't always arrive in noise, and that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stay human in a world that tries to strip that away. Malik didn't have armor, didn't have weapons, just a hoodie, a voice, and a choice. To keep walking, and with every step, he made that choice again. To be bigger than the hate, brighter than the fear, and stronger than the silence around him. So when people ask what power looks like, show them this story. A boy in a hoodie, head held high, heart unshaken. No spotlight. Just the truth walking quietly through the noise. If this story touched your heart, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Every click helps us bring more powerful stories of empathy, justice, and silent strength to life. Your support is what fuels this journey. Let's keep standing together and rising higher. One story at a time. Stay safe and inspired.